Bonjour Flosstube, I'm Deb, I'm the Traveling Stocking Stitcher. I'm really happy to have you here with me today. In honor of the 2024 Paris Olympics, I figured I would do an episode featuring some Parisian landmarks. I did one a couple of months ago that featured mostly Notre Dame. Today we're going to have more Eiffel Tower centric things, so I've called this Ei-ffel, in love with Paris. And so we've been very excited with the Olympics. I live in St. Paul. I was born and raised here, as was Suni Lee, and she's done excellent in her competition. So congratulations to Suni on her marvelous achievements in coming back, and despite her medical conditions, and being able to overcome and win several medals again. So great work. There is a hashtag if you want to participate on Instagram of Stitch the Summer Olympics Sal, that's been hosted by the Naptime Stitcher. I am not one to do start and stop kinds of things. They have different prompts for each day that are Olympic tie-ins. I like to start something and keep going on it, but if you want to get in the spirit, that's a good way to join in as well. So I've got, I think, 3 or 4 FFOs to show you today, and some Parisian fun facts, and some photos, and stories, and that kind of stuff. So put on my best mime outfit, and we're ready to go. Ooh la la. Now the gold medal goes to Medieval Fleur-de-lis. This is from the Vivsters. Vivienne Powers is the designer. And this design, when I saw it, I knew it came from the floor tile from Sainte-Chapelle, which is a church in Paris that has extensive 13th century stained glass windows in it. And the floor tile, she had modified it because I think she was going for a Christmas theme, because the description of it on Etsy mentions a Christmas something or other. But I wanted the colors to match what I remembered the floor tile to look like. And so I decided to do it on black. This is 13 count, black Lugana from Zweigart. And I converted it to sulky threads. And there were some two-tone golds. I think the Fleur-de-lis had two-tone golds in it. And so I did all the conversions to sulky. I'll put the conversion in the show notes in there. And there was black around the edges. And I had wanted the floor tiles on a diagonal, but I wouldn't be able to do that and make it fit in an 11 by 14 frame. It would have to be twice as wide as it is. So this is what I've done. And I changed the colors to match what I remember seeing. And I had a different color of red in here. And after I stitched it, I realized it was the wrong color. I hadn't focused hard enough. I was so concerned about getting the blue right that I hadn't focused on the red. So I swapped out all the red and frogged it out and redid it again. It didn't take all that long to do, but did some other modifications. I wanted there to be a space all the way around in the design. Ran this line right into there, and so I had to re-chart the edges along here and to make it higher and wider. So I had to bring the leaves out here and do some of the, move some of these things around to make them fill the space a little bit better. And then the wording, I found some letters. Oops, I did one set of letters that I used for the uppercase letters, and then the rest of the words I found a different version that I thought worked well with that. So I had first heard about it when I was in college. I took a class called The History of Paris, and we also had a History of London was another companion. And I was a history major for the first 3 years, and I started thinking, well, history, what I'm going to do with history major, and I've taken a lot of English courses, so maybe I'll switch over and become an English major. And, had I had that thought sooner, I might not have taken this class, but I'm so glad that I did. And you might say, well, how can you use that in your career or your future? But it turned out that this is one of the more practical classes. For one, it taught me a lot of the culture and the history. It inspired a love of things Parisian and French, and gave me some context when I go and see these things. I know the background of some of this stuff. And one of the things that we had to do is they gave us a map with the landmarks on it. And part of the test that we had to do was identify where the landmarks all were, and Paris has what they call arrondissements, which are districts. And this was very helpful when I started planning a trip to Paris many, many years later. I wrote down every landmark that I wanted to see. I knew what they were. And I wrote them all on an index card. And then I laid them out according to what arrondissement they won. I just, like a deck of cards. And it helped me decide, well, the Eiffel Tower is over here by the Arc de Triomphe. Notre Dame is way over here by Sainte-Chapelle. So you could kind of plan out your days and do that. So it was a very, very useful course. So when you're thinking, when kids are thinking about taking those classes and you think, what are you going to do with that? You never know. If it's something that they think they're interested in, I recommend it. So it's a very unassuming exterior. And you walk in, and the lower chapel itself is beautiful. But it was for the palace staff. This was the royal chapel that was for the royalty. But the staff would be in the lower chapel, and even that is beautiful. I was very impressed with that. It was painted to emulate Limoges enamels, so it's got this beautiful vaulted, bright blue sky with this gold leaf Fleur-de-lis. It looked like stars in the sky, and these deep, rich burgundy and blue, deep blue columns that are painted with castles in gold leaf, and it is gorgeous. And if you want to stitch something, now I did find a Sainte-Chapelle lower chapel embroidery on Etsy from NomadEmbroidery that kind of replicates that. It's not cross stitch, but it is embroidery, but it looks like the lower chapel. And then you go upstairs and you see the stained glass windows, and it is astounding. It is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It has one of the most extensive 13th century stained glass in the world, and this has survived wars, and I mean, it's glass, and it's stood the test. The chapel was consecrated in 1278. It was designed to house what they believed to be a portion of the crown of thorns. It has since moved to Notre Dame and did survive the fire, but it's beautiful. There are 15 50-foot high panels of stained glass that cover 6,458 square feet. They have 1,113 biblical scenes, all from the creation all the way to Revelation, represented in the stained glass windows, and it's just amazing. And I was so taken with it. I went up and saw it, and then I thought I was done, and I went downstairs, and I thought, I gotta go back up and look again. Went back upstairs, and I'm glad I did, because I think somewhere in the back of my head somebody had told me about the floor tiles, and to make sure that you look down. And so I looked down, and oh yeah, there's the floor tiles. I took some pictures of those. So when I saw this design, I thought, I recognize that. So I'm very excited to see that. I mean, look at my face to see how happy I am looking at the stuff. I'm stunned. So I've stitched something from Sainte-Chapelle, but it doesn't have stained glass windows in it. So one thing I thought I might do is I bought a stained glass sampler. This is Carolyn Manning Designs. Is that okay? And I think this is beautiful. It's not quite the same feel, but I've seen it stitched up on Instagram, and it's really, really beautiful. I suppose you could throw some Krynic in there as well if you wanted to. Other Parisian things, if you wanted to stitch some sort of Gothic cathedral, I found an adamant calendar, a Gothic cathedral blackwork from ExLibrist that I have in my stash, that I have a PDF, so I don't have the copy to show you, but I'll put up a picture of what that looks like. So this is one that sort of reminds me of that. It also has the they also have one called, from ExLibrist, called Gothic Cathedral Temperature Chart. So you do it based on the weather, and it's stained glass windows with blackwork on it as well. So those are two that remind me of that kind of thing. All right, the silver goes to another Vivienne Powers design. This is from the Vivsters again. This is called Parisian Window, and I like her stuff. It's usually no backstitching at all. There's a lot of fill, which is fine. I don't mind doing color block stuff. But they're pretty much full coverage, and they're pretty big. This has got 31,525 stitches in it. So There it is. Pretty much did nothing much different to it. I did use Anchor Black as the black. I think there's a little more richness in there. And I did use Sulky in the railing, and I don't know, it doesn't cover as well because it's only one strand versus the 2 strands of everything else that I used. So if I had to do over, I probably would just have used the anchor in there for that. And then I found kind of a Art Nouveau wording that I could put Paris down below. And the one other change I made is I used for the sash, or the tassel, the curtain tassel pull, I used the DMC satin, and I used satin stitch, so I did a little tassel to make it just kind of stand out a little bit, give it a little more depth to it. And if you're looking for other Ei-ffel tower pieces, Quaker Ei-ffel is one from Aiguille Anglaise. I'll put it down in the notes because my French pronunciation is not great. But it has a monochrome version, and they also have a red and blue version that has customization. You can put, you know, your initials or your name or whatever on it. But that struck me as a very, I've never done a lot in Quaker stuff before, and this one appealed to me. So that's one that I imagine I will be doing in the future that's Eiffel Tower related. And the bronze medal goes to, this is a come from behind. I didn't think this was going to make the podium, but I kind of had thought I would be UFOing this one and leaving it. The fabric was supposed to be a spring watercolor, and it just didn't show hardly any color at all. And it was in linen that was kind of schlubby, and it was, so the stitches were a little uneven. It felt really rough. It felt like it was threading or shredding my floss a bit, and my hand hurt because it was stiff holding it. So I put it aside, but I liked the colors, I liked the look of it. So when the Olympics came on, I was inspired. I pulled it back out again and pushed on. It was, for some reason, what I had done is I think I'd balled it up and stuck it in a bag with the floss, and normally I just roll my stuff up, but I think kind of folding it up and bend it in half, maybe it softened it up a little bit for some reason. When I took it back out, it was much easier to work with. Didn't mind it at all. So this one is called Paris Silhouette, I think. It's not on, Zephyr Mood is the shop. It's a Ukrainian shop from Kiev that's no longer on Etsy, so hopefully everything is okay there. The last time I showed this, it was only about 25% complete, but it stitched up really quickly once I started working on it. And it's a 2/2 28 count spring watercolors linen from Fabric Flare. And they had another piece as well called, from Zephyr Moon, called, I don't know, France Moon Silhouette or something like that. It's basically the same design, but it had the moon and it had lettering down below, which this one did not have. So I got both of them and did a combination of it. So this is what it ended up looking like. String now. And there it is. Hopefully the light's okay because it's a little dark in here. I'm doing this at night. And I've got lights on, but I've got some shadowing going on, so it's got a very watercolory effect. Like I said, the lettering from Paris was from the other design. And so I think over on the side here, this appears to be Sacré-Cœur, which is on the hill at top of Montmartre, beautiful cathedral that has a great view looking out over the area up in the artist quarter. That's there. One of the others, if you like Sacré-Cœur, I found another design that is from 2x2 Stitch Art. If you're looking for another design to do Sacré-Cœur, this is called Dennis Originals, Les Mémoires de France, Book 10. I don't know if it's still in print or not. This is an old book that goes back to 1982. And this was actually my mom's book. Her name is on it. That she did it, and I think, yeah, she, so it could be Invalid, which also has a dome on it, but I believe that the silhouette is Sacré-Cœur. And this one, I think Mom stitched this. I'm going to have to ask her because I don't remember stitching it myself. But I found it's been sitting in a box, unframed, for years and years and years. She did it when I was in college and the first time I went to Paris. But I picked up this frame at a thrift store just a couple of weeks ago, and it was sitting there. I hadn't put it away yet. And when I was framing the stuff for this episode, I thought, that frame, this design, these go together. So I don't have it in here real great. I was just messing around with it tonight, so it's not perfectly framed up in here, but I think it works out really, really, really well in this particular frame. It's a very heavy frame. It's kind of a silver design, but it's upside down. I'll have to switch the hanger up here, but like I said, I think my mom stitched this. It's called Sacré-Cœur, and very, very lovely. I'm very happy with how this is turning out. If I can get it in to sit in here, it's a little poofy. Got to do a little more work on that. Very, very nice. What I was thinking of doing with this, these designs is trying to put them all together, so maybe putting the Eiffel Tower with the Arc de Triomphe on one, or, you know, different combinations of things. Here's Notre Dame down here, and then here is L'Opera. And what else do we have on here? We have Chenonceau, which I did not see. It's a chateau on the Loire River. So. And next up, I'm not sure what this building's supposed to be, this long, tall one here. Don't know. This I imagine to be Notre Dame. Like I said, I did an episode about Notre Dame. This is from The World of Cross Stitching. It is from, well, they don't make it easy to find the dates on here. It just says 2020. 2020. And this is Our Lady of Paris. So, yeah, I guess it's got some beading and some French knots and stuff on there. So it's a little more complicated than it looks. So, that's a possibility. A lovely side view of Notre Dame before the fire. And another Eiffel Tower one is from Landmarks Around the World. Stony Creek has an Eiffel Tower as well. This is the Notre Dame one. Showed you in my last France video that I did. But if you want to do an Eiffel Tower, there's one there as well. Now, fun facts about the Eiffel Tower. It's 1,063 feet high, which is equivalent of 81 stories, and it weighs 7,300 tons. It's held together with 2.5 million rivets. And the summit, you can go up to the summit and look out. It's 906 feet high. And when I went to Paris the first time, the summit was also closed down for, and I was, again, I can't, you know, one time in Paris I'm not going to be able to go to the summit. But it turned out when I went back later that went up to the summit, and really you can go up to the second level. There's the first level, and there's a second level you can go to, and the views are much better from the second level because you can see stuff. You get up to the top and it's like, oh, there's something over in that general direction. But on the second level you really can actually see and make out the buildings and that kind of stuff. So I was just fine just going to the second. Yeah, the summit's okay, but second level is just perfectly fine. They paint it every 7 years, and they use 45 tons of paint, and they use 3 shades, and it gets lighter as they go towards the top, and so it kind of blends in with the Parisian sky. So the kind of gradations of colors as they go up. Got a couple other designs in my stash. I have a Paris Flower Power travel poster. This is from Box and Fox. They had this, I think, fairly new that's out. They had I bought a San Francisco one that they had that looked similar to this, but when I saw the Paris one I thought it wasn't that expensive, so I bought that as well. And then I've got an old one that I have done. This is needlepoint. This I did, I don't even know how many years ago. I don't know, it was probably a high school, college kid or something, I don't know. Can't tell you what it was because it's in Roman numerals. I don't know. It's 86 maybe. Is this the copyright? So this is from Something Special Needlepoint, and here it is. It's huge. It's 16 by 20, and look at the French knots in that little flower garden. All of those French knots. You'd think I'd be better at them, because look at all the practice I had. There's millions of them. Yep, this is an old one. If we look back at this, our next one here, we have the Eiffel Tower, obviously. This down here, I think, is the Opera, which is another very, very beautiful building. Just stunning. The design, the interior there. And actually, the Opera, the Phantom of the Opera, the idea for it came, the guy actually had a piece of the chandelier fall and kill him. So that's kind of the inspiration for where the Phantom of the Opera inspiration came from. So if you're looking for a design for that, one that I have in my collection a couple of months ago, I showed Vienna Ballet. It's a design. They also have a Soirée d'Opera, this fancy lady in front of the opera building in Paris, from Diana 70 is the Etsy shop there. And then the last landmark that we are seeing on here is, of course, the Arc de Triomphe. Now, Napoleon had ordered the construction of the Arc de Triomphe in 1806 on his birthday to honor the Grand Army. Unfortunately, it stopped when he got exiled and kicked out of the country in 1815 after he had a military defeat, and so he never got to see it completed. And it was finished in 1836. He died in 1821. So his idea, but he never got to see it complete. An interesting fact that watching the Olympics, I saw a piece that they did on the fact that there are no stop signs in Paris. I didn't realize this. About 10 years ago they discontinued them. And if you drive around the Arc de Triomphe, there are no lanes. There are 12 lanes, but there are no lane markings. And so it's a risky proposition. As a matter of fact, if you have a rental car, you have to get special car insurance. Maybe not just a rental car, maybe anytime you want to go and drive around there, you have to have special car insurance to insure you, because there's so many accidents when people go around there. Now, if you go up to the top of the Arc de Triomphe, there's a tunnel you can go underneath, so pedestrians don't have to risk their lives running across this traffic. But I thought that was pretty interesting. When we were there, there was a protest going on. I think there were truckers on strike, and they had trucks that they were playing Edith Piaf music, and they had mannequins dressed up in clothes, and they were going around in circles with their protest signs going around and around the Arc de Triomphe. So to carry our Olympic theme further, this particular design that I was working on fell off the apparatus and was disqualified from competition. Ran into a few snags on this one. So a couple years ago I went to Stitchville, USA, which is my LNS. It's about 25 miles away from me. And unfortunately I never went back, and they just closed in May. So we don't have an LNS anymore, a local stitch shop, LNS, local needlework shop. But I picked up Starburst, Flag of France, from Cherry Lane Designs, and I'd seen this before, and I thought, oh, I would like to do that. It's not huge, so I was going to pair it with something else to make it into a travel poster. And so I put it on some 18-count oatmeal Aida, and it's all Algerian eyelets. I've got a few Algerian eyelet tips, but I think what I'll do is, when I get a chance, I might do things that I've learned from this, and do a little Flosstube extra tutorial on Algerian eyelets. And I wanted to pair something with it, and so I was looking around, and I found on 123 Stitch this Dimensions kit. I don't think I'd ever seen this before, but it's got Paris and New York. And I thought, oh, well, you know, that would be kind of fun to put on top of here. And I knew that there was an American flag version of Starburst Stripes and Forever, or Starburst and Stripes Forever, from Cherry Lane Designs. Carrie Lynn is the designer, and I thought, oh, well, I would, you know, put something else that goes with this, and I could do Paris in one and New York in the other. Now I had a couple of issues. These are more pastel-y colors, and these are more primary colors. I thought, so I was working on maybe do some color conversions, and there are a few motifs on here that I maybe wasn't crazy about, like, what didn't I like? You know, the flowers, the hearts. I thought maybe I would just put some Algerian eyelets in there, and what else didn't I don't know, the birds? I don't know. The cake? I don't know, something. It's probably more New York. It's like they have like a fire hydrant. Well, a fire hydrant is not necessarily unique to New York. It's you know, I wasn't that impressed. So I thought, well, I was going to started searching for a few different motifs. I thought maybe it would be kind of fun to put the Eiffel Tower in both places, because the Eiffel Tower we did see from replicas. France gave America the Eiffel Tower, and there were some replicas that we saw in the Museum of Arts and Meters, I think it's called, that we visited. And there's also another, not as tall, but there's one in the Seine on an island that is in Paris as well. So I thought maybe that would be a nice tie-in. So I was going to do a little reworking on this. And I was trying to think what other, things could I put, motifs could I put in here. So I went on Google and I searched, Parisian symbols. And second I did this, I realized what my problem was. Up popped the French flag, and why it didn't occur to me, I stitched this whole thing, and I know what the French flag looks like. The French flag has vertical stripes, not horizontal stripes. But, you take things at their word. It says Starburst flag of France. Never ever occurred to me that this is not what the French flag looks like. So, turns out, flag of Netherlands, red on the top, blue on the bottom, white in the middle. So, I had to kind of backpedal and change gears and find something else that, one, is going to go on this fabric, that's going to look good on the fabric, that's going to fit on the fabric, that has something that I can do with the American tie-in, with the American flag. So I looked at Twin Peaks Primitive, because they are out of the Netherlands, and I know they do a lot of Dutch designs. They have an American trilogy where they've got New York with the Statue of Liberty, and they have Philadelphia with Independence Hall, and they've got another one that's kind of generic American. It's not a specific place necessarily. And then I also looked to see, well, what do they have that's for Dutch that's kind of the same size that would fit. And they have this design that is called Holland's Glory. And it is a phrase for women who look very healthy in Holland. When you say someone is Dutch glory, it means someone who looks very healthy and is maybe a tad on the bigger side. That's on their website. I didn't make that up. It's not meant as an insult, but rather as an endearing term, it says. So, they kind of are in traditional Dutch outfits. It's not necessarily a landmark or a place like that, but I thought that might, size-wise, and fit and go with that. So, as of now, that's my plan. The one other issue is, if you can see, there's not too many of them. There are little things that look like the Eiffel Tower, like this one right here. Now, had I known and stitched it upside down, probably could turn that into a windmill, but I don't think it's going to work upside down, so we'll see. They also have a Canadian one that's kind of cool, and it's a Canadian flag with a maple leaf on it. So I know that Twin Peaks does have some designs that they change out the flag, and they have little, I think it's like a parade with animals on a wagon, and they just change the colors in the flag to match several different countries. They've got Belgium and Holland and Canada and that kind of stuff. So that's a possibility that I might be able to use as well. The other thought I had is I have from Stitchrovia, I bought city hoops, and they have the words New York, Paris, and London. And I could put that down below. So that's the stitching I've done. I've got a few things I want to show you that are things that I have in my stash that are French related, or things that are considering strongly to be acquisitions. So first up we have Paris watercolor sample. I recently saw this from Millie Cross Stitch. It's got watercolor Paris motifs that I like a lot. So that's one I think that I might be doing fairly soon. And then I found, again, recently, French Facade. This is from the Fresh Cross Stitch. They also have an Italian one that kind of goes with it as well. So this one, I don't know about the pink colors. but I don't know if I would change the colors somehow and make it a little more representative of one of the boulangeries, the bakeries where we got fresh baguettes, delicious, in Paris. I do have on order Paris mandala chatelaine, so I ordered that from the Black Friday sale, so Gloriana's are running almost a year behind, so eventually it'll come. They have a Versailles mandala chatelaine that I didn't buy. The mock-up doesn't do it justice. I recently went and looked at the chatelaine gallery, and where they actually have stitched pieces. And the Versailles one's very pretty. Went to Versailles first time I went to Paris, and so might be a consideration down the line as well. Some other options that I'm considering. I found Parisian House. This is from Simon Ballman Art. It's very very Parisian-looking building, which is lovely. There is a Starry Night Paris. This is a blue French map that kind of has a white Eiffel Tower and some of the other landmarks around it. And this is from author Embroidery Design. I'll put the down below. I think it's French, obviously. And then there is Paris Street by ExFree. It's also another one that I thought was gorgeous. And a fun one, Love in Paris. It's a dog and cat in Paris, in front of the Eiffel Tower. This is from Non-Stop Stitch. One that I like is called Fleur-de-lis from Diana 70, a shop that I've mentioned before. And also they have a 1920s woman at the gates of Trocadero looking out at the Eiffel Tower. I actually have this print in my bathroom. From the shop is Diana 70 that has the cross-stitch piece in it. It's a full coverage thing, and it would be, you'd probably get fabric to do the background, but it's basically a black and white monochrome kind of thing. There's one that has, it's called just Paris. It has a lot of words on gray and white and black. It's pretty big. I don't know if I could scale it down to the size that I like to do. It's from Orbeille shop, O-R, capital A-B-E-I-L-L-E shop. This is from Isabelle Harcourt Bature, and she also has a version of the USA that has state names on it, and also a London one. But again, they're larger pieces. So while I'd like to do them, I don't know if I can get them to fit. There is a Paris and a London also from the Little Art Veranda that they've got kind of a, I would guess, a Art Nouveau poster, vintage poster look to them. And then these are other ones that I think are all pretty big. This is from Cross Stitch Collectibles. They've got a number of different vintage travel posters that are out there. There's a Champs-Élysées Arc de Triomphe. It's got a little traffic cop, a little cartoony looking 1950s traffic cop directing traffic. There's a Fly TWA fireworks over the Eiffel Tower that they have. And then there's also an Arc de Triomphe that has some other landmarks around it as well. So. Other French themed ones, I have Veronica and Ginger. I have the Magic of Christmas book that has some French things. It's not specifically Parisian. I don't think there's anything that's like the Eiffel Tower or anything in here. But this is all Christmas kinds of things. But if you like Parisian inspired things, this is one I was thinking of maybe doing a Christmas stocking of by cutting out a portion of it. Where's over here? Just having the kids looking up, and maybe cutting out a section here, so this would be the leg and the foot would go over that way. So that's a possibility. So if you're looking at French designs, that's one that she has beautiful, beautiful things. The other Parisian one that has a lot of vintagey feeling things is Librist Parisien. It's in the notes. And vintage, fashion, couture, the little black dress, Coco Chanel, those kind of stuff. They've got a few landmark ones. They even had an Olympics one that I thought was kind of cute. So if you really wanted to get involved with the Paris Olympics, they had an Olympics chart out there. I don't know if you can, the screenshot is not great. I'll put it up here, but you can take a look at it. Madame Lafay is another French theme designer, and probably the most representative of landmarks of things is their Souvenir de Paris that I would love to stitch as well. So they've got, she has a number of different designs out there. They're all really, really beautiful. There is a geometric Paris by Stitch that has a lot of the landmarks on it. They also have Rome and Amsterdam, so if you wanted to do a set, if you've been to different places, that might be one that you're interested in. And then there is Sampler Paris that was designed by Alina Ova Shop, and it's kind of like a 2x2 monochrome that has the Eiffel Tower and Sacré-Cœur and Notre Dame on it as well. So some other crafts. I can't take credit for this one, but I wanted to show it to you. When we went to Paris, our neighbor Katie surprised us when we returned with this beautiful quilt that she had made for us. I'll try to hold it up and be able to show it to you. But it's just beautiful. All the designs that are in here, all the different fabrics. Eiffel Tower, there's some stamps, passport stamps of different sizes, designs, maps, French writing. I'll get back further here. And it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous quilt. I don't really have the bandwidth to be able to show you this whole thing well enough. But it's a beautiful, beautiful quilt. And then in the back is this vintage looking map that actually is a map of Paris, and I could even pick out, I mean, it's accurate. I could pick out the street that we stayed on and all the, see, here's the Pantheon, and here's the Eiffel Tower over here, and it's beautiful. It's just a lovely, lovely design. Here's the Seine going right through the middle. So just a beautiful. Thank you so much, Katie. She watches my Flosstube. She's a wonderful neighbor, so thank you so much for that. And last up, I have a seal of approval, shout out. I tried to find somebody that has some sort of French background, and I found Floss Chronicles, episode 5. Claire is an American who lives in Germany, and she went to Paris and visited a needle shop in Paris, and she takes a little tour of that. And so episode 5 is called Vive la France, and she is what I'm recommending to watch for your little French fix. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm glad to have you along with me on this little tour of Paris, and I hope to have you back again. Please feel free to subscribe, hit the like button, do all the things that makes YouTube happy, and leave me a comment if there's places you've been or things that you've stitched you want to share with me. I would appreciate that as well. So, bonne journée!